lines. I wouldn't forget a bad like you.
For the love of the primal force, the Sisters of Battle have infected another universe. Alright, back it up. Yeah, back it up, yeah, more. Yeah, just keep it right there. Might as well get used to seeing this being around for today.
Praise the Emperor!
Shut up! When we first see the Exorcists, they look like a helter-skelter nightmare, to be entirely honest. Not exactly the harp-carrying, toga-wearing peacekeepers everyone expects. But most things don't conform to human ideals, and so many people get angels mixed up with Cupid, and I never hear the end of it. Every Christmas, just, why does everyone think I'm an angel? Ugh, moving on. As recently discovered, the Exorcists are the army of heaven, or rather, a part of it, with a general that is an archangel, such as Adam. Oh my gosh. Abel. Why the hell Abel? Which kind of makes me wonder where Michael fits into this whole thing, if he's even a thing in this universe. Though it makes more sense that they are a form of PMF, a private military force that is under the control of an archangel for their own operation, especially given how small a number they seem to appear during the recent extermination. As we learned, they're under orders from Sarah to act secretly on behalf of heaven to carry out the annual extermination to thin out the sinner population in hell. Originally, it wasn't just sinners who were on the chopping block either. As stated by Lucifer had actually made an exemption for all hellborn that excluded them from it, explaining why it was confined to the Pride Ring in the first place. Design-wise, their mask makes them look more demonic, which actually fits since we've seen angels take on more demonic traits when entering hell. The mask might just be practical, preventing their horns from tearing through the helmets, along with an additional intimidation factor to inspire fear. They wear light armor, have black halos, which some have speculated to be a way of denoting them as being part of covert ops, if not the military in general. And melee weapons. Everything about them is to give the sense of invincibility when it comes to the sinners, since they do not seem to be able to be damaged by Hellforged weapons. Fighting back would basically be considered pointless.
I bring salvation through annihilation.
Now, to be entirely honest, I actually originally believed that these were winter angels, maybe on the same level of Adam or Saint Peter. It explained their supposed invulnerability to anything outside of angelic weapons, or rip off their own arms. But it has been confirmed that they're not descendants of Adam, ruling out that theory entirely, though ironically enough, that makes things easier to figure out. See, here's the thing. Angels, after all, are warriors of God. They carry out heaven's will, no matter what the will is. And just like in every society, you will have some who are so fervent in an ideal that it dominates them. But for the Exorcists, their contempt, and rather than saying glee at slaughtering sinners, likely comes due to a particular event, Lucifer's rebellion. Prior to that, the idea of going against heaven was likely seen as an impossibility, or even just straight up craziness. Their entire existence was to obey. This is true not only for this world, but in many others. But after that, well, everything changed and broke as evil entered the world. Now the idea of falling and rebelling was possible, and that's an incredibly scary thing. You see, it doesn't matter if you have lived for several billion years, or merely a few tens of thousands. For mortals, the longer they live, the more that resentment and grudges fester. Angels who saw what Lucifer did likely doubled down and became more righteous, more zealous, more convinced that their way was the only way. That obeying heaven's orders was vitally important, regardless of what outcome they wrought. Remember that angels aren't as kind and gentle as pop culture likes to paint them. They aren't pretty, soft-looking men that sit on clouds making songs all day. The Bible itself makes it clear. In 2 Kings 19:35, one angel wipes out 185,000 Assyrians overnight. And yeah, I actually had a bell on that and I kind of lost, so yeah, I'm a bit infuriated about that. I thought he could kill at least 200,000, but nope. And let's not forget about the final plague in Egypt that killed every firstborn that was caused by the angel of death, who actually works for heaven, is not a neutral force. Angels will absolutely wreck your shit if that's the order, and they will do it without a second thought. So when it comes to the Exorcists, they're probably drawn from the most zealous of angels, the ones who never let go of what Lucifer did. Unlike Sarah, who basically is just more remorseful, these are more willing to kill someone, likely seeing that sin permanently marked someone, and that their judgment in hell was forever, until they were killed again. And that this came from the head Seraph? The order itself must have been agreed to by the elder angels and God as well. This would have only solidified their resolve and reinforced the perceived rightness of their cause. Now, as for them being all female, that's probably due to Adam and didn't want to share the spotlight. Basically, the Exorcists are the Sisters of Battle of the Hazbin Hotel.
And so we are charged to cleanse the mutant, the heretic, the alien. We must not falter. We are his sword. We are his wrath.
A blind faith army so sure of their orders were just that they never questioned it, primarily because they never needed to. Now, whether they were always like this or just got this way because of Adam's influence is unclear, but given his self-loathing and pain masqueraded as excessive narcissism, along with the disgust of his descendants ending up in hell to begin with, I'd say he might have been a very strong influence indeed. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, crazy angelic warrior woman. That's gotta be a Hazbin original, right? Well, not exactly. You see, if we go to Pseudo-Dionysus in the Celestial Hierarchy, his book, heaven is divided into 9 choirs, and one of them, ironically enough, fits the Exorcist almost perfectly. The 6th choir, the Powers. And my gosh, they are some of the most insane angels I've ever seen. Kind of up there with the Grigori, except, the Grigori literally just fell and started making babies with humans, so yeah, they're to blame for Nephilim. Just so you know. Now, who are the Powers? Well, the Powers' whole job is, ironically enough, to fight evil forces, especially demons, and to keep them from messing with the mortal world. This much is actually hinted in Hell of a Boss, where the cherub literally says,
"We're exorcists, the flaming swords of the heavens, here to strike them down with fiery vengeance."
And we know that demons actually do go up to Earth during times of war. Well, imps do at least. They're basically heaven's military, their police force and everything else. They're the ones who protect guardian angels during spiritual battle, the main fighting force of heaven, and even has the power to send demons away, while working closely with the virtues, who are responsible for maintaining the natural order of the universe, governing natural forces such as causing storms and performing miracles. They enable the virtues to perform their most vital function. You see, they're the angels who strengthen human faith, provide courage, and help humans persevere through hardship, while the powers stand as the wall between humans and demonic forces. So, if the Exorcists are drawn from the choir of Powers, that actually makes perfect sense. They're heaven's fighters, militant, disciplined, and built to keep the line between heaven and hell from breaking, but also with the power, experience, and skill necessary to go down to hell to perform the extermination, while not being bothered by it in the slightest, due to the belief that it is heaven's will. Look, you may call it messed up, but this is precisely how it is. And if you think that's bad, maybe I should tell you about the Hounds of God sometime. It gets far, far worse. Now, with Charlie pushing redemption, you might ask, with the evidence of that sinners can be redeemed, does heaven still need the Exorcist and the extermination? Well, for the Exorcist, yes, they're always going to be needed. There's always been the army of heaven to keep it safe. That is never going to change. Like, I understand some people believe that they were made 7 years ago because, Adam gave Vaggie her name, so they think, oh, they were only born 7 years ago. No, that was never the case. Why would that ever even be a thing? That thought process makes no sense when you think of it, for them to have only been around for 7 years. And even if they were, why does it matter? Unless some of you out there are literally just yanking the monkey at them, which, seriously, Slaanesh will be visiting you later.
Oh, this excitement and torment is getting me so damn horny. Anyone can please run this chair next deep inside me and murder it as hard as you can.
As for the exterminations, ironically enough, yeah, and that actually pretty sucks to say. Now, the exterminations have inflicted brutal damage. We know that, and no one can deny it. Well, I mean, they can. And again, they're already kind of wackos to begin with, so we won't include them. And though Sarah is resolved to no longer have blood on her hands, regretting the extermination of so many souls that could have been redeemed, unfortunately, reality is hardly ever fair or even outright logical. It's more like a paradox, if anything, as two things can be true at the same time about a situation. That as horrible as the exterminations are, they also create strange positives, which are overlooked, and let's be fair, in my profession, you have to find those positive outlooks, otherwise you'll just go crazy. But there are at least 3 that can be taken away from this. First, immortality leads to stagnation and solidification of power. Power that is concentrated in the hands of a few, and everything else stops moving. A permanent upper class forms and cannot be removed through force or reason. The exterminations as an overwhelming power basically resets that, causing overlords to die and allowing new ones to rise. After all, Carmilla and her daughters would have been killed in the latest extermination had it not been for the Angel Steel ballerina shoes.
My daughters and I were cornered in that last extermination. I tried to buy time for my girls to flee, and well, you don't become an angelic arms dealer without arming yourself first.
Decapitation!
Second, exterminations and eternal suffering. Yes, I know, it's grim. But for sinners who've been there forever, death might actually be a mercy. What's worse is that until there's a way for sinners to reach heaven without dying, the extermination is likely the only ticket out of hell, and making it a necessity at least for the time being. Third, not everyone wants redemption.
I am here to study this fascinating concept of redemption. My hypothesis is that it's impossible.
Some people in hell, like Asterion, for them, hell isn't punishment, but it's opportunity. That's why the saying, "I'd rather rule in hell than serve in heaven," hits so hard. They would rather remain in hell, forming communities based on their mutual sin interest, like the cannibal colony, fortifying their power and make the best of a bad situation, rather than to be redeemed. So, even with Charlie's dream alive and proof given, the exterminations are likely going to continue happening. Not because anyone likes it, but because hell needs them to keep things from falling apart. Of course, I could be wrong, and the creator may merely have it that the exterminations end forever without going into a morally gray aspect. But only time will tell for that. Exorcists are some of the most intense beings in the Helliverse. Zealous, armed, absolutely convinced that they're doing the right thing, they're heaven's attack dog, loyal, ruthless, and unstoppable. They were created out of a mix of faith, duty, and that of self-loathing. That combination turned them from what they were, mighty warriors, into ruthless weapons. They'll keep doing their job no matter what anyone thinks, because that's all they've ever known. Following orders, carrying out the will of heaven, and destroying what is in front of them. Condemn them, praise them, it doesn't matter. They'll keep doing their duty, and that duty isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
Praise the Emperor!
Shut up!